votes. I've already announced to the media priorly that I was going to vote in favor of obedience to the TRO for the following grounds. Now I will try to summarize them very quickly. Under law, there is such a thing as a last clear chance doctrine. If both parties are at fault, perhaps in an automobile collision, but one party had the last clear chance to avoid the collision but did not take that chance, then he is the one who is at fault. Today, we have a TRO issued by the Supreme Court against the impeachment court. The Supreme Court is what its name implies, the Supreme Court. This, by contrast, is just the High Court of impeachment. If we do not obey the TRO, then we are engaged in a collision course. And it is now for the Senate to avail of the last clear chance to avoid a collision, which will naturally result in a constitutional collision. That is the first argument. The second argument is this. Under the 1987 Constitution, the Supreme Court is vested with judicial power. There are two components of judicial power. One is the power to decide justiciable issues. Two, another component peculiar only to the Philippine Constitution is that the Supreme Court has power over political questions. In that manner, therefore, the 1987 Constitution has already abolished the political question doctrine, which is still observed in other democracies like ours, particularly in the United States. So, if that is the case, then the Supreme Court has a more comprehensive extent of judicial power than that possessed by the United States Supreme Court because of this constitutional provision. The case of Nixon versus United States involved a federal judge who, under American law, is authorized to be impeached by the Senate. Here we don't have that system. Therefore, the ruling in U.S. versus Nixon does not apply to the Philippine jurisdiction. It is, of course, a valid decision to be cited in American law, but not in Philippine law because of our constitutional provision is markedly different. Third ground, the secrecy of foreign currency deposits law is a child of this Congress. We passed that law and said the secrecy of foreign currency deposits is absolute except and only except when the depositor himself gives his consent. We made that condition sole, alone, and by itself. We made that law. Now are we going to break that law? Lawmakers cannot be lawbreakers. Fourth ground, the theory of checks and balances prohibits this impeachment court from claiming an